Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov has slammed the West for turning a blind eye and deaf ear to what Moscow calls a horrific Ukrainian strike on a college and student dormitory in Starobelsk. Speaking in Moscow during Africa Day events, Lavrov accused Western governments and media of ignoring civilian deaths after drones hit the university complex in the Lugansk People's Republic. Russia says 21 people were killed and over 40 wounded.
Я, кстати, выражаю искреннюю признательность всем.
By the way, I express my sincere gratitude to all the states that are represented here, who expressed sincere condolences to us regarding the terrible terrorist act in Starobelsk on May 21st, which was carried out by the Nazi Kiev regime, and which the West chose to turn a blind eye to and a deaf ear to, despite the measures we took to send as many journalists as possible to the scene. The journalists from the countries of the world's majority, in my opinion, have honestly fulfilled their duty. You can't say anything similar about their Western colleagues. Someone simply refused to even go there, someone was on vacation, and someone was simply banned by the government.
Lavrov claimed Moscow invited international journalists to the scene, but accused Western media of refusing to report the attack. He mocked what he called free press hypocrisy, saying journalists from the world majority covered the tragedy while Western outlets stayed silent. Russia is now using the strike to accuse the West of selective outrage over civilian deaths in the Ukraine war. Moscow has branded the attack a deliberate act of terror, carried out by what Lavrov called the Nazi Kiev regime. At the UN Security Council, Russia's envoy Vasily Nebenzia accused Western powers of refusing to condemn the deaths of children and students. Ukraine, however, claims the strike targeted military drone and command facilities allegedly operating from the site.
Speaking about the free press. And on this background, your Western interlocutors continue to constantly demand to condemn Russia and solve the problem solely on the basis of the recognition of the principle of territorial integrity of the current Ukrainian state, headed by the Nazi regime. Let me remind you that the principle of territorial integrity is only one of the principles of the UN Charter. There are other principles that need to be followed. We have to respect and carry out these principles, not selectively from case to case, but in their entirety and interrelationship. And among these principles is the sovereign equality of states. Remember how this principle is observed by our Western colleagues. They did not consider other participants in any conflict as having a sovereign equality.
The Kremlin has directly linked the Starobelsk strike to Russia's latest missile retaliation campaign. Vladimir Putin reportedly called the attack a terrorist act that could not have been accidental before ordering a response. Days later, Russia launched major strikes using Oreshnik, Iskander, Kinjal, and Zircon missiles against targets across Kyiv. Lavrov delivered the remarks during Africa Day celebrations in Moscow, turning the Starobelsk attack into a broader attack on Western policy. Russia is now accusing the West of applying international law selectively while ignoring Ukrainian actions. As the war intensifies, Moscow is increasingly focusing on winning support across Africa, Asia, and the wider global South.